going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Darwin's Theory. My name is Darwin and this is my theory. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone who watched my first video. If you haven't yet, go watch that one because that'll give more context to this one. Second of all, I want to say I appreciate the response and feedback that I got from that video. It was great. It's, exactly what the response I wanted to get, and some people messaged me saying it really hit home with them, and that's great. I'm glad I can relate. Third of all, I would like to say that I'm sorry that this video is coming out so late. I've been caught up with some stuff, something came up, and this is gonna be a whole another video, right? The story just continues. It's not over yet, that's for sure, but essentially I had to go down to Ottawa I didn't have to, but I chose to go down to Ottawa to help people I've never met before, but as y'all know, from Ottawa, and my sister asked me to help with a missing persons. This is a missing 15-year-old girl, and yeah, I just felt compelled to go down and help out the family, help them find her, and get the pedophile goof that she was with off the streets. And we did just that, with community teamwork and the help of everybody. We made it happen, and the girl is home safe with her family, and this guy's in jail where he belongs, and hopefully he'll be there for as long as he can. Every day with this guy locked up is a blessing. He's real scum of the earth, and I'm just going to put this out there now. I hate pedophiles and abusers with a passion. Sure, it's not hard to tell, but yeah, if I could, I would do that for every single person I know that's been abused by a pedophile, but it's not realistic. But I was happy to assist in getting this guy off the street. I really was, and should he get out, I will be keeping my eye on him for sure. But anyways, let's get into it. As I said, that I'm gonna divulge the entire story, without names or anything like that. But I'll be talking about that in a future video for sure. But let's get into it. So I pretty much finished off talking about 18 to 20 years old. So I'm just gonna touch on that again. As I said, when I was 18, I really got into the alcohol. I drank before. Like I said, the first night I drank was just a total blackout mess, and that'll be a video on its own. But as I said, I really got into drinking to get away from weed, right? It made me more social, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. But the problem for me and a lot of people is that it really carried on to the point where it was just ruining my life. And unfortunately, those same people I started drinking with when I was 18, so a decade ago. And if you're watching this, it should hit home for you. A decade ago, 10 years ago, we all started drinking to have a good time. And it's sad to say, but I've watched and those guys are still good friends of mine, but I've watched them pretty much turn having a good time into it's to the point where I'm not going to be surprised if I get a call saying they're dead or in prison, to the point where it's a serious issue. And unfortunately, they can't seem to help themselves. They're not weak people by any means, but they just can't seem to help themselves. Alcohol is their demon, and it's gotten to them, and it's hard to watch as a friend. But yeah, anyways, where was I? Sorry guys. A little bit of a tangent here. I'll have to edit this out. Sorry guys, I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, essentially, as I was saying, when I was about 18 years old, I met some friends, and this would turn into an ordeal that would last years to come. Essentially, started drinking with a couple friends, and it was all fun and games at that point. Like I said, tried to quit weed. So yeah, that was the summer of 2011, I believe, and that's pretty much where I went real downhill. But started drinking and having a good time, to be honest. At that point, I looked at it as a good time, but I'd realized down the line that it wasn't a very good choice I made there. Just one 1 second, guys. So yeah, at that point, pretty much met quite a few friends that, you know, I still talk to this day, because, you know, it's hard for me to stop caring for people, even if, you know, I don't realize they may not be the best for me. And a lot of those people went on to do good things with their life and figure it out. I'm not saying that any of these people aren't good people. They're all good people, but, you know, we all made some bad decisions. So it was that summer, in I believe August, that got my first adult charge, and that was for an attempted theft. I believe, as bad as it sounds, I was trying to break into cars so I could get money for alcohol and weed, pretty much. I know, doesn't sound like much, but yeah, that was my first charge, and it just got real bad from there. I remember robbing the LCBO, stealing bottles and all that stuff. Like, just do anything to get money for alcohol at that point. It wasn't good for me. Did some really shitty things to people, and, you know, I regret that to this day, and I've tried to make amends with some of the people. But yeah, alcohol makes you do really shitty things. So I got charged with quite a few things. I'm just gonna, sadly, you know, my criminal record is part of my timeline, so it's kind of hard to remember exact dates and all that, but I can go off here. Just a second. My second adult charge was a break and enter. So I remember drinking one night at my old elementary school out back, because, you know, when you're young, you drink at schools and stuff like that, or out in the parks, right? And you know, maybe I'll tell this more in depth, but essentially I decided in my drunken stupor, this is the kind of shit that I did while drunk, like just mischievous, stupid stuff. But essentially I decided to break into my old elementary school so that I could skateboard in there, and I guess I can tell this story now, because it was one hell of a story and an eye-opener, and the first time I ever dealt with SWAT. So yeah, essentially broke in, smashed the window with my skateboard, and started skateboarding around. I guess, like, maybe it was nostalgia or reminiscing. I don't know why I did it. It was, to me at that time, it seemed like a perfectly good night beforehand. You know, I was still having fun at that point. I didn't realize, you know, the shit I was getting myself into. So yeah, I decided to skateboard through the school, and I remember just like walking around, and then all of a sudden I see lights start coming up to the school. And next thing you know, I go to the window and I see a cop outside. I try running to another exit cop, and yeah, next thing you know, the whole school is surrounded. So I tried to hide in the gym, and essentially at first I heard like police in the building, like police and all that, and, you know, we're gonna let the dog go, and I was like, holy crap, what did I get myself into? And I was obviously hammered at the time, so I didn't really realize. Essentially I hid behind a curtain on the stage, and I heard the dog come right up to me, but me being an idiot and not knowing quite how good dogs really are at their jobs, or police dogs are, I waited like almost an hour, actually. I'm surprised they didn't drag me out of there. I don't know why they did, but maybe they wanted the element of surprise. Waited almost an hour, at least it felt like an hour, and I thought I was all good. I for some reason lit a freaking cigarette, and decided to come out. Next thing you know, cops pop out from every entrance to that gymnasium, and they have their guns drawn on me, tell me to get on the ground. I'm still smoking, and yeah, they pretty much tell me to get on the ground, hands up, and took me down, put me in handcuffs, let the dog get real close to my face. And the one thing I remember, like, this fucking dog's face was huge. This was a King Shepherd, just barking in my face. I thought for sure I was getting bit, and I would have if I hadn't listened to them at all, like if I didn't comply with them. So yeah, needless to say, I got charged with break and enter, spent the whole night in jail, and so I got released in the morning. Didn't have to go for a bail hearing at that point. got released actually at court for the original attempt theft I just told you guys about that morning. So I had to make it there, but I had the bright idea to go back to that school, but they were working on it, so the front door was open. But essentially I had left my weed and cigarettes in the school, because back then weed was illegal and I didn't want to get caught with it, so I left it on the stage and they didn't find it. So yeah, I decided to go back and sneak back into the school. I don't know what I was thinking, and then I ended up going to court later that day. So I got my stuff, I left there, but all in all, that was like probably one of my first really stupid nights, and it just got worse and worse from there. So yeah, I would go on to get charged for quite a few things. I don't want to get into everything, because you know, I'm gonna tell a different story, you know, like I can get more in depth if I just do a separate video, right? As I said, I don't want to get too off track because this is just a timeline. The next year, like from 18 to 19, was just rough for me. I ended up actually doing my first stint in an actual adult jail, and that was Maplehurst Correctional Center. I'll talk about, well, I guess I can touch briefly, like, scared the shit out of me, not gonna lie. You know, I knew what I had to do. I knew I had to be a man. This was time to be a man and stand up for myself. And I knew that, you know, I got tested real quick. But I'll make a different video on my first time in jail. And you know, when I tell these stories about jail, you know, it's to scare y'all from going down this path, and to, if anybody's ever, you know, has made mistakes and they have to go to jail, it's more to help you survive jail. Jail in Canada is a lot softer per se than the States, but there's still some messed up shit that goes on in there, and I think it's better to be prepared than not. You know, you shouldn't be there in the first place, but sometimes, like for myself, it needs to be done, you know, like as much as I hated going to jail, it's what I needed to learn my lesson. And you know, back in the day, like, I was the bad one out of my friends. I really was. Like, I was the one always going in and out of jail, you know. I think it may, you know, in an odd way, may have made my friends that are still alcoholics to this day think that everything was alright for them, you know. They're not going to jail like me. They had jobs, you know. And I always say that just because you have a job doesn't mean that life is okay. It doesn't mean, you know, that everything's okay. There's lots of people that have jobs that still have a lot of issues. So, you know, don't let that define whether you're okay in life or you're doing alright, because, you know, you can have, like, even the most successful businessmen can have, like, a cocaine problem, you know, and that's like a misconception people think they have. They think they're above it all because they have a job, but addiction gets everybody. Every single person. No person in this world is immune from addiction, I'll tell you that. But yeah, so I was always the bad kid in my group of friends, you know, in and out of jail all the time. In that time, I had a lot of time to think, and, you know, obviously I didn't want to be there. I don't do well with confinement, to be honest. It's, like, I'd say the worst part about jail is what it does to your mental health. Just feeling so alone and so depressed, you know. And then there's obviously the fighting and, you know, the fact that you got people telling you what to do, and it can be a dangerous place for sure, especially, you know, I'm not the biggest guy. In Maplehurst, because I'm white, it was also rougher. I managed to do alright because, you know, I feel like I know how to talk to people, and, you know, I got my ass in line real quick, you know, and you walk in, you read the rules, and, you know, I stood up for myself when I needed to, and I didn't go out of my way to cause problems. I minded my own business, and those are big things, but again, I'll touch on that in other videos. Yeah, essentially, from 18 to 19, I spent a lot of time in jail, in and out, in and out, in and out. When I turned 19, I was still in a pretty bad way. Like I said in my last video, the day I turned 19, I was at the liquor store, and it was just like, thought it was so cool, I could buy my own liquor, but, you know, didn't really do much good for me down the line. So yeah, 19 to 21, it was just in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Like, I'd be gone for a couple months, home for a month, gone for a couple months, home for a month, and just doing shit you guys couldn't even wrap your mind around. Like, unless you're an alcoholic yourself, or you just get fucked up when you drink or do drugs, you might not comprehend why I did some of the stuff I did. Like, I used to do something as simple as, like, I used to make roadblocks or something stupid. I used to just mind-boggling, I don't even feel like it was me, but I know at the end of the day, it was me, because, I used to think, I used to use being drunk as an excuse, which I think a lot of people misconstrue that. Just because you're drunk doesn't give you the right to do anything. You're still responsible for your actions. Somebody once told me, because I tried to use this excuse with them, and this was somebody at a courthouse, and this was only told to me maybe 3 years ago, right after I had gotten charged for what I consider a relapse, right? But yeah, they pretty much said that, when you drink, that the true version of you comes out. It's just without a filter, because most people are filtered for society because they don't want to be a bad person. Most people want to be good, they don't want society to think less of them, right? But when you drink, you just throw all that out the window, and your demons come out to play, essentially, and that's, I guess, deep down, like, I'm a shit disturber, I guess, right? But I've learned that that's not the person I want to be, and I want to do better, and, at this point, I want to help people, as many people as I can. I've always wanted to, but, I had to help myself first, and then, I got a criminal record, and that made it impossible to be a child needs worker, right? So, yeah, in all of that time, I managed to develop, like, a group of friends, which, I almost consider them like family. Like, throughout that time, I was homeless quite a bit, and I want to say hanging around with the wrong crowd, but as I said before, none of those people were really bad people. They just had issues, so I don't fault them for that. I have met a lot of bad people in my life, throughout the streets and all that, but there was a decent amount where I would get kicked out and I would be homeless on the streets, and I know it worried my parents, but they had to give me tough love, and sometimes it was necessary. It's also what did the trick for me. I needed that tough love, I knew they were always there for me when I wanted to start making smart decisions, but they didn't put up with my bullshit, If cops came to the house, they're dragging my ass downstairs, they're not gonna answer the door and stuff like that. Although at the same time, my mom always defended me, from the cops that she didn't feel were doing the right thing. That were just, because at one point, like, the cops used to see me as an easy target, because realistically I was, the cops love to go after easy targets, drunks who just make it so easy for them. You do stupid shit most of the time on camera, and boom, they know exactly where to find you, and it's been a lot of times, where, I was treated unfairly in a certain sense, like, because of that, but at the same time, like, I had committed a crime and I deserved to do the time, right? But at the time I didn't feel like that, but yeah, I was just making really bad decisions, and I used to, like, it was a weird thought process to even go back to, but I used to think, like, I can control my drinking because I was just, like, obsessed with drinking. That's all I did for fun, and I used to think, I could work it out. I can try to manage it, but, it never worked. It always landed me back in jail. Always. Like, if you're someone like me and you can't control your drinking, the one thing you can do is control drinking or not. So, if you can't control your drinking, then you shouldn't drink at all. And, I've proved that to myself so many times over my life, like, every time in and out of jail, I always told myself, I'm going to do better. I got healthy in jail, I worked out, I ate healthy. I tried to really build my mentality and become stronger, like, headstrong, and said, I'm not going to do this. And, every time I got out of jail, I got a little bit better. I managed to you know, like the first time I probably just got out and straight up drank right away. But after that, you know, I'd last like a couple days, and then a week, and then maybe not even a month. I would never last a month until the final time I decided to quit drinking. But um, yeah, I started feeling really weak. Like there's nothing I could do about it. You know, I just always went back to the drinking, and you know, it was really at the end of the day, like, not gonna say they were bad influences, but it was a group of friends. You know, that's all we did for fun, and it was just I just could not help myself. Like I just kept falling down, kept ending back in jail. You know, I like now looking back, you know, I'm a lot stronger of a person, and it's so easy for me to say no. Like it's the last thing I want to do. I hate alcohol, to be honest. You know, like I said, you know, I will have a beer here or there, but it's literally like the last thing I want to do. You know, there's a time and a place to have a beer for me, and it honestly makes me feel sick to this point because I've really messed up my liver with the amount of liquor I've drank. Like there's been points where I was binge drinking and would drink like, you know, 60 in 2 days, and I would be stealing 60s from the liquor store like almost every day, and sometimes I'd sell them to get money for more alcohol, beer, smokes, whatever. That was more when I was like homeless on the streets, right? You know, I always made it work. I always found a way to get money for alcohol, and that was just my main priority. So up until, let me check this, I believe it was 2013, May of 2013, that was pretty much my life, just in and out of jail. I'm sure I could touch on more detail. I can't remember everything right now. You know, it's kind of well, one, it's like a part of my life I try to phase out, and two, I was drunk most of the time, so I'm sure, as all of you know, you don't really remember much from when you're drinking. And you know, I think people that drink a lot or do drugs a lot fail to realize is that even when you're not drunk, like you're in a different mentality. Like you're in a blindness. You know, you seem to think everything's alright, and you don't even realize half the shit you would after you've been sober and clear-minded for years. You just see life differently, you know. And I'm not trying to say I'm above all that. Like I try to humble myself in that sense. Like I realize, you know, I could easily be back in that position, and sometimes it wouldn't take much. You know, life can literally change in an instant. So I always try to remember that. You know, like that's most of the reason why I still care for friends. You know, that are living lifestyles that I prefer not to even be a part of now, but I care about them. I realize that could easily be me. That has been me. You know, and I worry sometimes that I could go back to that. As of right now, I do not see it happening in a lifetime, but you never know. A lot of shit can happen to you in your life. You know, something terrible could happen, and you could go to drinking as an escape. For me, I don't see it just simply because I just don't like the vibes. Like, you know, when you get a bad vibe about something and it just makes you sick to your stomach, that's how I feel about drinking. And I think that's mostly the PTSD from waking up in cells and having to have the cops explain to me what I did or tell me when I'm being held for bail. And, you know, just like I said, guys, if I didn't quit drinking, there's a good chance I could be locked up for life right now. And I used to get pretty violent when I drank as well. I've done some crazy violent shit while I was drinking. It wasn't right at all. Like, I don't know, you know, I only hope people can forgive me that I was violent too, and that's what, you know, recovering from alcohol addiction is all about, seeking forgiveness and just trying to make amends, because, you know, it wasn't the good version of you. Most people become bad people when they drink. They become idiots. They're not themselves, you know, and you know what, anybody who drinks, you've got to know that you're taking the risk that you are going to have to take responsibility for your actions. Like, I'm honestly sick of hearing people say, oh, I was drunk, this or that. Like, there's guys who rape women and say, oh, I was drunk, and, you know, sometimes they get away with it because of that, and that's fucking bullshit, you know? I don't care how drunk you were, you know? Like I said, if you can't control your drinking or what you do, you shouldn't be drinking. And, you know, back to guys that rape women when they're drunk, well, they're probably rapists in the first place, because even normal drunk people don't do that. I've been drunk enough that, like, I wasn't even myself, and I've never even come close to doing that, and I hate people who do that. And, you know, as I said at the beginning, I passionately hate people who take advantage of vulnerable people. But, you know, I'll do a whole segment on that too, because I've had a life of trying to make life a living hell for people like that, I'll tell you that, and I'm good at it too. But yeah, fast forward to 2013. Actually, before I do that, I want to introduce a few good main characters in my life that were there a lot. I'll discuss childhood friends that are still friends to my day, or to this day, you know, that have been my rock. I have a friend named Kate. We've been best friends since we were about 13 years old. You know, she's watched me go through every up and down, pretty much. You know, and guys, it is possible to be good friends with a female, as much as you know, as much as people would beg to differ when it comes to male and female being friends. But we've developed a platonic relationship that I wouldn't trade for the world. You know, I've had her back, she's had my back. She's taught me just so many things. You know, a big thing she taught me was how, you know, when somebody doesn't, essentially when somebody doesn't get their way, or they're upset and they just threaten suicide, threaten they're gonna harm themselves. Usually it's in a relationship. When someone breaks up with someone, they're like, oh, I'm gonna harm myself, I'm gonna take pills or whatever because you did this to me, right? But you know how abusive that is? I tried to pull something like that, similar, not quite along those lines, with her. And yeah, she put me right in my motherfucking place. And you know, pretty much she told me exactly how it was. I'm not going to talk to you, pretty much, if you're going to be like that. And I totally respect her to this day, because, you know, that was a lesson I needed to learn. Hardcore needed to learn that. And, you know, coming from her, I totally respected and respect her opinion. And when she says something, I listen, you know, because she's a very smart girl, kind-hearted. You know, the world needs more people like her. But yeah, that was one of the valuable life lessons she taught me, and it stuck with me to this day. So yeah, I'm gonna introduce her. You'll hear a lot about her in my life story for sure. So she's a great woman, and she's done great things for me in my life. I would not be the person I am today without her in my life. So shout out to you, Kate. And then I'm gonna introduce Jacob. Actually, I think I talked about him earlier, but he is a great best friend. He's from that original group of 5 that I talked about in my last video, but he's always been there. He's a very positive person. You know, that guy will help anybody. He's always got something philosophical to say, and I've always appreciated that. He's always stuck by me, even when I was in the shits in jail. This guy, he spent a lot of money to take my calls in jail, and you know, without him, in that sense, I would have gone crazy in there. He did my time with me, and I'll forever respect him for that. He's just done a lot of good stuff. He's a hippie at heart, but he's a good friend. So you'll hear a lot about him too. And then I have a good childhood friend named Tyler. We didn't go our separate ways, but he moved out of the city. But I still really respect him. You'll hear about him as well. So yeah, and I miss you, Tyler, if you're watching this. But anyways, let's fast forward to the time that I quit drinking. Well, for the last time I quit. Well, not quite for the last time, because I relapsed a few times. But this was the time where I decided my life needed to change 100%, and I needed to make a huge difference in my life. Hold on, guys. So, sorry about that. I had to make sure my camera didn't cut out like last time, but yeah. So 2013, there was a crazy night. This is the time where I just broke down. I knew that I had to make a change in my life. I absolutely had to, but essentially it goes back to a night of drinking yet again, you know, hanging out with, not, as I said, I don't want to say this, the wrong people, but they were the wrong people for me at that time. Even though we were all really close and we had each other's backs and all that, they were just the wrong people in the sense that we all influenced each other to just drink and party, you know. That was all we did for fun, you know, and we were just shaking it rough. Most of us were out on the streets, you know. I'm gonna say it was by choice because we just chose not to listen to our parents, and they just gave us a tough love, said get the fuck out of here if you're gonna act like that, and I respect them for that, you know. But there was a night I was drinking with some friends, and we got really hammered and decided to do a robbery, and we decided to rob somebody completely innocent. It was like the biggest piece of shit move, you know. I hate robberies. I think it's a coward move, to be honest. But we decided to rob, and shit got out of hand. You know, I didn't do some of this more like more terrible stuff. You know, I was just involved in the robbery. I actually initiated it like a piece of shit because, you know, everyone talked about it, but it was my fault. We decided we were gonna do it. I don't know. Well, I do know why, because we were drunk and fucking stupid and aggressive, and decided to do it. And then we get into the forest because this guy was like partying with us all night, and we just decided to turn on him. You know, looking back, I feel like a piece of shit. I know I was a piece of shit at that point. And yeah, decided we were gonna rob him, and then we get into the forest, we surround the guy, there's like 4 or 5 of us, and this guy and his girlfriend, and we surround him, and these guys aren't doing anything, and he's just looking at us all funny. So then you know, decided, I felt like I felt like I was the least cowardly of the group, even though I was the most cowardly now looking back. But I decided to be the one to grab him and, you know, bring him to the ground. And then I think my friends took his backpack while I had him held down. But then this guy, I'm not going to say his name because he's passed away at this point, but some of y'all might know who he was. But this guy decided to start hitting the guy with a fucking log, which is like when shit got out of hand. And I remember being like, what the fuck are you doing, you know, like I'm like holding this guy down but trying to protect him from the log because I thought it was fucked. I'm like, that didn't need to go that far. This guy was like that though, you know. I'll get into a story later on in my life where this same guy actually left me for dead in an alleyway and by hitting me with a rock over the head. But like I said, I'm not gonna mention his name because he's dead now, and, you know, like, it's no hard feelings at this point, right? But yeah, at that point, he was pulling piece of shit's moves, you know. And the worst part is that guy got away scot-free from all of this, when I think because he caused the most damage by hitting this guy in the face with the log, and just like, I don't know, I don't want to get into it too much, you know, because I don't want to talk bad on dead people. But yeah, so essentially he was hitting the guy with the log. Like, somebody else took the guy's backpack, which had like some weed and some other random shit. Nothing even worth stealing. I never saw any of it, to be honest, because after that shit just got crazy. It was one big blur, and essentially cops showed up real quick. SWAT showed up real quick. So I tried to run through the forest. I got hunted by dogs in the forest. And yeah, I didn't get away. A couple of us did, but most of us got caught in that forest. I got hunted down by the dogs and pretty much taken into custody in somebody's backyard, like a ways down through the forest. And, you know, for some reason, again, I didn't think the dogs were going to find me. And they did, and I had a bunch of SWAT guys pointing assault rifles in my face. I pretended to be sleeping, right? Likely story, you know? Just happened to be sleeping in somebody's backyard right next to where a crime was committed, right? Like, so yeah, it was that night. Shit got crazy. Like, they rounded up every single person in the neighborhood and they didn't arrest everybody, but they brought everybody to the station down to question us. And you know, it was a big ordeal, especially like to me at the time. And, you know, I remember even waking up the next morning and just feeling like the biggest piece of shit for that. Like I said, guys, I don't condone robberies. They're not cool. They don't make you a gangster. They're a coward move. And even at that point, I never liked it. But when I was drinking, I just thought it would be a good idea. That's kind of how it was when I drank. Like I said, I mean, maybe the deep down evil person, you know. Like, I don't know. I hate to say it, but that's what I did, and, you know, I'm not proud of it at all. So yeah, we all got held for a bail hearing. There was 3 of us that had been arrested and actually charged at that point. There was a couple more to get charged later on. We all got held for a bail hearing. Went to Maplehurst. For me, that I had already been in and out of jail like so many times. I had a friend. It was his first time in jail, so I kind of told him how it went and all that. We got denied bail. I was only in there for 3 days. I don't know how. Well, because my mom was willing to bail me out. Essentially, I called her from inside Maplehurst, just tearing up. Not because I was scared or anything. Like I said, I already been there so many times. In my life, I've done a total of 16 months. Yeah, that was the last time I went to jail for, like, in that phase of my life. But yeah, I did about 16 months in my life. But yeah, at that point, I called my mom and I could not take it. I could not take spending another summer in that fucking place. Like, I just couldn't. It was just too much for me. I realized I needed to make some serious changes. So I called my mom just in tears, and prison's not a place, or jail, I guess I call it, is not a place where you want to cry. And obviously, I wasn't crying because I was scared or anything like that. I was crying because, I was just so sick of myself, especially after doing, like, a robbery like that. It's just not the person I wanted to be, and I knew at that moment that if I didn't change my ways, shit was just going to go real south for me, and I was going to possibly, just go in and out of jail and, do life on the installment program, as they call it, which is where you just spend your whole life going in and out of jail. So I knew I had to end this revolving door. That's what they call it, a revolving door. I knew I had to end that for myself. So I called her. She said, all right, like, she actually believed me. I was being sincere. She said, yeah, I'll bail you out, but you're not living here. I'm going to find you a place, or I'm going to find you a shelter to go to. And then I'll bail you out. And that's what happened. I went straight from jail to a shelter, and that's pretty much lived on my own ever since then. But that summer was a rough one for me. I didn't actually touch a drop of alcohol after that for, I think, an entire 82 days, I believe, straight. I didn't touch alcohol. And, like, that was a summer where I got a lot stronger, I would say. So I don't know why I decided to do it like this, but I'm glad I did. I even got my friends on it for a bit, but they I think broke quicker than me. But I decided to still hang out with the same people because, it was hard to wrap my mind around not hanging out with them because they were all I knew at the time. And I decided to try not drinking but still hanging out with them, which was definitely a recipe for failure, but I managed to pull it off. I managed to do 82 days of sobriety straight, even while hanging out with all of them, watching them get drunk. But I knew that if I could pass this test that I had set up for myself, that I would be a lot stronger and that I could actually overcome temptation. So guys, as crazy as it sounds, as unconventional as it sounds, if you're trying to quit drinking, I know, like, if you're weak, it's not going to go down like that, but for me, it worked by, literally still hanging out with the same friends, still being in the same scenery, the party scenery, but being able to say no. I learned to say no to myself and to them. The amount of times I've been able, like, every time that you say no to a friend offering you a drink, I believe you get a little bit stronger every time. Little by little by little. Now I could say no like it's the easiest thing to say in the world. I can't be peer pressured by anything. I make my own decisions now. I become stronger like that, and I'm proud of that. Not many people can do it, and I feel for them, but that's what worked for me. And there's some of you out there that it might work for you, because like in prison, my biggest mental struggle, like, I knew that I did not want to drink, and I knew this was bad for me, and I knew that I could not be doing this, but my biggest mental struggle is, how am I going to have fun? It's like drinking is so accepted by society that, it's like, how are you going to fit in? You're going to be a weirdo, you're not going to have fun, you're going to lose all your friends. It's like, it gets me going how much drinking is accepted by society, to be honest, because, drinking is poisonous. It's no good. It ruins lives. Nobody thinks clearly. Like, even if you drink every weekend, you're still, in my opinion, you're still just not thinking clearly. You're not living your best life, because if that's all you're doing for fun every weekend, you're just not living your best life. You're not appreciating the little things in life. You're not actually doing what makes you happy, because I will tell you, drinking does not make you happy. It's the last thing from it. It might give you a little bit of temporary happiness, but it's not real. It's another thing for me. Drinking is just, people are so fake when they're drunk. They're talking about all these things they want to do in their life. It's like, why can't you talk about that sober? You can do anything sober 10 times better than you can do drunk. You just need to put your mind to it. Like they say, drinking realistically is just borrowing tomorrow's happiness, which it really is. And you'll be borrowing happiness from the rest of your life from one bad night of drinking, so don't forget that. But, so yeah, that seemed to work for me, doing a whole 82 days, which is big for me at the time, because I hadn't gone that long without drinking in a long time, and managed to keep the same friends. Still made some idiot moves after that, but I managed to keep it cool, I would say. Like, I ended up meeting a girl. We moved out together, which is, at the time it was good. It was a phase in my life. It ended up having a bad ending that actually led me to go to jail again. But at the time it was good for me. While I was dating her, we graduated high school together. She was a little bit late graduating too, right? And we went to school together. I hate's a strong word, but I seriously dislike her now. But it's more about how it ended. We had both done each other wrong during the relationship. It wasn't meant to last, but, the end result was her essentially stealing my dog from me, which definitely put me back into my old ways a decent amount, I'm not going to lie. And, I feel like, too, at the same time, she was like an enabler in a sense, too. She got me to drink even when I didn't want to, but at the end of the day, it's not like I didn't want to, or it's not like a case of like, oh, she got me to do this. It's like, I made those decisions. Everybody's got to realize you have nobody to blame but yourself for any hardships. If you do something stupid while you're drinking, that's all on you. Like, nobody can make you do anything, at the end of the day. Every choice you make in your life is on you. And I hate to say that, but that's a harsh reality. So yeah, essentially, she took my dog. That got me going. I ended up doing, about 2 weeks in jail over that. Not because I didn't hurt nobody, but when I found out, so she essentially asked me to borrow my dog because after our relationship had ended. Stupid move. I was naive, I guess, but they had developed a bit of a relationship while we were dating, right? And I might do a full segment on this too. But I thought it would be alright for her to just take the dog for a couple days just to, hang out, because she liked the dog too. But in the end, a couple days later, I ended up getting a text from her new boyfriend. Didn't even know she had a new boyfriend, right? It happened pretty quick after the relationship ended, so who knows, maybe she was dating him before, I don't know, but got a text from her new boyfriend saying, yeah, this is my dog now, and obviously me, I'm not going to take that. I ended up having to take that anyway, but I'm not going to take that statement lightly. I called about 40 times with nobody answering, and then, what's a man supposed to do when his dog's taken from him? And that's why I have a dog now, and I love her with all my heart, and nobody's ever getting near her, because I don't know what I would do if that happened again, but it broke me when I lost my dog, not gonna lie. I called her about 40 times, like I said, and got charged with criminal harassment over that. I ended up lining up a fight pretty much with her and her, well, not even her boyfriend, because he wanted to, I'm like, buddy, I will come down there, and because he was from Hamilton. Pretty much said, I'll come down there and we'll deal with it. Like, you're not taking my dog. And I show up there. This guy's acting all hard. And next thing you know, he calls the cops. And I'm getting charged with domestic death threats, even though I never threatened her once. Because that's not something I do. I don't threaten women. But obviously, her new boyfriend, he can get beat up over that for sure. But you end up calling the cops. Bitch move. I ended up getting arrested. That's definitely a full story for another day, because the way I got arrested was interesting for sure. But yeah, so I got locked up, got bailed out for that, ended up having to go to court. I tried to go the legal route after that, but it was too late. Even though I had paperwork saying the dog was in my name, the cops did not give a fuck, especially after she charged me with that. So I ended up just having to wear that, and I ended up going to jail for 2 weeks, getting sentenced to like 15 days over that because I threatened her boyfriend and I called them 40 times. It was stupid as shit. It's like, what is anyone gonna do when the dog's taken, But lesson learned, right? Don't ever let anybody borrow your dog, I guess. But, and I guess if I had went about it the right way, obviously from my experiences, I don't like to deal with police, and especially at that point, I didn't. So that wasn't the route I wanted to take, and it just pissed me off so much, like getting a text from her new boyfriend saying I took your dog. So yeah, it bothered the hell out of me. But anyways, so move on from that. After that, life was half decent, I would say. That broke me for quite a while, a good 6 months. Like, I just hurting real bad after that, Actually, it was about a year after the dog was taken, because about 6 months in, I ended up getting sentenced and doing the time at Barton Jail, which is, a story for another day. That place is interesting. I saw some shit there in the short time I was there. So after that, life was half decent. I ended up actually going to college after that, and, I did quite well for a while. I didn't really drink at all, I still had the odd night, but I managed to keep it pretty much at bay, where I didn't get arrested all the way up until 2018. So I ended up, going to college, Humber College, to be an arborist. I learned a lot from that class. I didn't actually pass because I pretty much left halfway through the second semester, I believe, because my mom was sick and I just couldn't handle it, school, that was just the least of my worries at the time, because my mom got cancer at that point, right? So, but she's doing great now, healthy as ever, still, doing her thing, strong woman. But, at the time, I just realized I needed to spend as much time with her as I could, because, it was real serious, but she made it, thank the Lord. So yeah, life was pretty good for a while. As I said, I was living out on my own. I had my ups and downs, like everyone does. I dealt with it. It's crazy as it sounds, I got into selling weed during that time, actually, too. So I just kind of tried to develop more of a hustle mentality. It's not the best thing, but it actually helped me stay out of trouble, because I was more focused on getting caught selling weed than I was about drinking and, even getting in any trouble like that. As crazy as that sounds, it never got me into trouble selling weed, and I did it for about 3-4 years, and it was my income for a while. I would work little jobs here and there, but, I never did well, not gonna lie, working for people and taking people's shit, I've always had to think of other ways to make money, had more of, I guess, an entrepreneurial mindset, and didn't really, take kindly to the way some, bosses treat you and just treat you like you're a slave to them. And I just never cared for that. I've always said, it's just a job. I'm not afraid to quit if I'm not getting treated properly. I'm not gonna lie. Luckily, I'm luckier than some, because I was given disability, when I was younger, due to my mental health issues, the FASD and all that, and essentially came to the realization that I may not be able to hold a job for very long, which is proven to be true. But I have a decent work ethic. I'm a hard worker, but my some days I just can't get out of bed. I sadly wasn't as reliable as I'd like to be, and that kills me sometimes. But I make do, right? Not partying or doing drugs, you save a lot of money, and saving's almost as good as making money if you're doing it right. But that mixed with my my mental health issues, mixed with my I guess, opposition to authority. Like, I just don't like being treated like shit by a boss. Just because you pay me money doesn't mean it. I'd rather be homeless, to be honest, than take unnecessary shit from someone. I understand following orders when it comes to doing your job, because you got to get the job done properly. When people start, belittling you and just talking to you like you're worthless, it's like, buddy, your company would not operate without the workers. So, some business owners, word to you, you need to treat your employees with more respect, because at the end of the day, you're just a sociopath running the business, and your employees are what make it happen. And that's the case for most businesses. And I stick by that. I've had some great bosses over the years, but a lot of them, all they care about is their money. They don't give a fuck about, the humanity of their employees. But anyways, that's a story for a different day, because I'm going to lose track real quick here. Times were good then. I managed to make do, but I decided to stop selling weed pretty much right before it became legal, because, you can't compete with the government, right? And I knew that if I got caught selling it after it was legal, that, I'm just going to get hit with, like, tax evasion and all that crap, so I stopped. I started roofing for a while. For 2 or 3 years on and off, I was lucky enough to have, because in roofing they're pretty understanding if you're not reliable, even though they don't want you to be. They're pretty understanding, because there's not a lot of people who want to do roofing, and it's more criminals, drug addicts, alcoholics for the most part. Usually when you see a normal guy come in, they don't last long. I hate to say it. But I paid the bills for a while. It was nice to make real money. I was working with a good friend of mine, and his name is Jason. He's a good friend of mine, and we're still tight to this day. But essentially, I started working with him, and that was good. But I found once I started to make that money and work a job like that, not only was it depressing, like that type of work, it was hard work, which I didn't mind, but it started to depress me, and I started to drink a little bit more, and me and Jason started having good times. We go and drink, and started getting back into the drinking, and that's why in 2018 I got arrested again, drunk as fuck on tequila. I was out in Jane and Finch, and I decided to go for a walk in the middle of the night. And by the way, I have this nickname called Tequila Darwin, and you don't want to meet him, because he's a crazy bastard. Like, I can never drink tequila again, but I decided to that night. This is where it gets scary, because throughout that year, 2018, I started to get more comfortable, just drinking more. I'm like, oh, I'm fine, I'm alright, like, I can actually handle my alcohol now. I was getting crazy, but having a good time, and not committing crimes while I was drunk. I was just more having a good time, Maybe going to like a concert, a metal concert, or something like that kind of good time. Still getting my energy out and all that, but I wasn't getting arrested up until, the end of 2018, when I decided, I was in Jane and Finch, and I decided to go for a walk. The cops rolled up, started bothering me, and I decided to hop over at first I decided to just walk up to them and say, you want to see me commit a real crime, because they were accusing me of being white in that neighborhood, which, I guess I looked out of place, but I said, you want to see me commit a real crime, and I proceeded to kick the mirror off their car, and hop over their car and kick another mirror off the car, and then I just ran away like a gremlin and said, catch me if you can, and they did catch me, because they could, because they were sober, and I was drunk, and they're fast, and I'm not, and they caught me, arrested me. I'll have a special one for you guys if you'd like to see it. I do have the booking video from that night, and then I have the video of the morning after, and it's like a complete, like, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, like, complete opposite ends of the spectrum. I don't know if you can see my hands here, but it wasn't good for me. I feel like I'm missing a little bit of parts in here as well, from previous times in my life, like in that 4-year span, 2014 to 2018, but I'm going to touch on those things in another video, because I'm going to go way off topic if I do. I got arrested. I got charged out in Toronto, And I will post the booking video and the release video so you guys can really see the difference of the type of person I am when I drink and when I'm sober. And when I, in the morning when I come to and realize what I've done, it's just sad, to be honest. But yeah, so I got arrested for that, and realistically, after that, I've been sober except for one bad night in Wasaga Beach in 2019. Decided it'd be a good idea to drive my truck drunk, which is something I've never agreed on, never done. But when you're drinking, you do some stupid shit and you think things that are not okay are okay. And I got my truck stuck in a ditch, and I'll get into this as well, but essentially cops came and I didn't get arrested because I managed to run away from them. They knew exactly what I'd done. They knew I was drunk because I decided to report my truck stolen. They knew I was drunk, but they couldn't find me in time to breathalyze me, and I managed to get away with that. I ended up spending about $1,000 to get her out, and it wasn't good. And yeah, since then I've just been sober. Like, I've been dead sober because I can't risk it. I'm a person who just cannot drink, and as crazy as it sounds, even though I had some good spaces, like, it took me a long time to learn my lesson, and every day I'm thankful that I don't drink. I had to learn to hate alcohol. I had to learn to hate it. And, now I'm doing a lot better, but I realize that shit can change like this, like I said, and, I just can't risk drinking. I just can't, I can't wake up one more day and think, what did I do last night? It's the worst feeling in the world for me. But yeah, on that note, guys, I'll get into a lot more of this stuff, but I feel like I could talk forever, and I'm tired. I don't want to get off topic, so I'll have to fill in some of the blanks, and just, from here on out, I'm just going to be telling more particular stories and all that, right? But again, I thank y'all for watching. Probably missed a whole bunch of things. People are gonna see this, like, what about that story? What about this? But now I'm just gonna, as I said, tell particular stories and go from there. It can be anything from times I spent in jail to good things I did to bad things I did to bad nights I had to good nights I had to just a positive story, or I'm just gonna talk about mental health issues, anything along those lines that I feel like can help somebody else make a step in the right direction. Now that I've filled you in on my timeline, I feel like you guys have a better understanding of me. I know it was more of a negative story because I wanted to really touch base on where I came from and some of the bad things I've done, some of the bad things I went through. There's lots of good things in between all of that, so don't be worried. I'm not as much of a piece of shit as you might think I am. From telling some of those stories, but it's all facts. It happened, right? And I feel like I need to tell you the bad before you can hear the good, so stay tuned for some of the good things I've done in my life, including getting sober. That's the best thing I ever did for myself, and I don't look back, but yeah, I'd love to fill in the blanks for you guys. Feel free to subscribe if you like. If not, that's cool too. Hit that like button, share this video maybe, because maybe it can help someone that might be in need of some guidance. Like I said, I'd like to try to educate the youth. Not that I've got it all figured out or anything like that, but I'd like to just tell my story and, hopefully help somebody not make the same mistakes that I did. Because, when you're young, you don't always think clearly, you kind of think you got the whole world figured out, but you really don't. And usually, like for me, you end up regretting a lot of the decisions you made in life, and you realize, you could have done better. So I'm just trying to help you guys make it easier on yourselves once you actually jump into the adult world, because it never gets easier, to be honest. Life only gets harder when you become an adult. Yeah, I just don't want y'all to dig a hole like I did, and I'm doing this so y'all don't have to learn the hard way. For some people that's what it takes, like myself, but some people don't have to go down the hard road, because it really makes life harder. But yeah, guys, I really appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.